we laughing because it's like the second or third time. We be having some technical difficulties sometimes behind the scenes, and we be having like the most bomb conversations ever.
Yeah.
I mean, the dialogue just be flowing, and then we get away from our producer telling us that we're not even going.
Yes.
So, yeah, come to find out, we've been like 6 minutes in thinking we having a conversation of a lifetime, and y'all don't even know what we was talking about.
They ain't seen nothing.
Man, notification gang just late.
Right.
Now it's coming up, though, so we know that we actually broadcasting.
Yeah, I get the
now.
I got it, too.
Yeah, so. We kind of know we on now. So, hey, everybody, how's
What's
it going?
going on?
Welcome to another week of A Long Way from Sunday. Sorry to keep you waiting, not just another week, but also for about 15, 20 minutes. But we appreciate those that are tuning in anyway, that got the notification, that clicked right in. We definitely appreciate the support thus far. Working on getting a few tweaks and stuff, cleaned up. And, it's a little difficult when it's a small operation, but, yet we prevail. Yet we keep on trucking.
Got to.
Yeah, we like the little engine that could, man. We still going. We still keeping it going. Hope everybody's staying safe out there. I know a whole lot of stuff is going on right now, a lot of changes and shifts in the dynamic of what we're getting ready to go into with the presidency. Also, in regards to COVID, COVID is still a thing.
Oh, yeah.
I know people done kind of let their guards down a little bit, but be mindful of the numbers, people. The numbers are going up again, like hotcakes. Like,
if you let your guards down quickly, I recommend putting those guards back up.
Pull your bloomers up.
Yes.
So put on a chastity belt.
Back up.
Do what you got to do.
Stop walking around with the mask down here. Go ahead and put it up and cover your mouth and nose.
Yeah, use an actual mask too. Stop just using stuff like Ziploc bags. And I mean, people done wrapped everything. Milk gallon jugs. I done seen the kind of everything. People done just made shift. Use an actual mask that actually
get you
do
a
something.
little mask. You know?
Ain't no point of you dying faster from your method to prevent COVID.
Right.
Than COVID itself.
Exactly.
People like suffocating themselves trying to keep from getting COVID, and I'm like, okay, just go pick up a mask from somewhere. They're relatively cheap.
Or free.
Some people giving them away.
You can go to the hospital and get a mask
here,
free.
people. Be safe out here. Like, for real, man. I mean, we know that a lot of times the narrative is going to shift. Okay, some days this going to be the focus. Some days that's going to be the focus.
Right.
But please do not be deceived in thinking that everything is done. And just because you may not hear about it like regularly, that don't mean that it's all right to just go back to normal. Okay, we're going to gradually get through this, world. We're going to get through this. But we got to be wise and execute some better judgment when it comes down. You can't be out there still shaking it in the club, and in the bars and doing all this different stuff, man. Quarantine is a real thing. It's okay. The quicker we do what we got to do, the sooner, hopefully, things can start to have some version of normalcy.
I personally believe that we're probably headed back to another shutdown.
Oh, word?
I mean, the numbers are just so high now that you don't really have a choice but to do that. And I think it's needed. I think we need to sit down this winter. So by the time, winter is over, things are being a better place, and hopefully they plan to have that vaccine ready by April or at least by the early part of the summer. But we have to do our part. We got to do what we're supposed to do. Stay in, stop kicking it so hard, stop having all these 50-man kickbacks in these 2-bedroom apartments.
It's like people think that just because it be in their house that they still have as many people as possible.
All those 50 people, you don't know who they've been around, been around.
And people be dirty.
Yes.
All right, people be places and people be dirty, okay? PBP and PBD.
Right.
All right, people be dirty. They be carrying around stuff and don't even be knowing. I'm telling you, man, PBD. Like, people be dirty. Like, you don't even be knowing it, but they be carrying around some stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And you have no idea just because they may seem like they're all right. And people will lie, too. Oh, yeah. They'll be coughing all the time up until, and they be holding their breath when they come in your house just so they can come in your house, knowing that they got the COVID.
Yes.
Not just COVID, they got the COVID. Knowing that they're coming up in your house trying to spread some stuff, man. Just be careful out here, people. For real. Man. Just be safe.
Listen, going to kick it should not be that important that you're risking your life and the life of others.
Right.
It's not that serious. So
absolutely
do what the CDC is recommending. Go ahead and stay in the house for the winter, get it together, so by the time summertime come, we can come back outside and we don't have all these restrictions and have all these crazy numbers.
Man, we're going to have like a citywide slip and slide.
Man,
like,
something.
Just like all the way from Wright Street all the way up to Capitol.
Something.
Just like the longest slip and slide ever, man. We got to figure out some kind of way, man, and I appreciate all the people that have been doing what they can, with the virtual tip, the virtual concerts, the giveaways, people in neighborhoods and communities that have been coming together for providing resources and everything like that. It's very much appreciated, even if you don't get the shine or you don't get the recognition that you may feel, know that it's not in vain. It is noticed, all right, and it does not go unnoticed. All right, we see you, and it's definitely appreciated, because I tell you, some of the virtual stuff been like the only thing to keep you sane sometimes.
Yeah,
you get to see the shows and concerts you never would have before. They come right to your living room now, you know, and it's a great time.
It is. I mean, the virtual stuff, hey, like you said, it's the only thing that's keeping you sane when you can't really get out and do much.
Yeah.
So it's appreciated. You know, shout out to Versus TV. They have a battle coming out tomorrow. I'm pretty excited about it.
Man, I don't care about it at all.
Yeah, I know you don't.
Yeah.
I
saw it. I was like, all right, yeah.
But,
okay.
You know, stuff like that keeps us entertained. It keeps us busy for a little while.
Right.
Kind of get outside of the situation and see some stuff. And,
Facts.
You know, I appreciate those kind of avenues and venues. So
Absolutely. Well, listen, we definitely want to jump in. You know, I know we're already a little bit behind the hour, but that's all right. Y'all know how we do. We keep it light, we keep it funky, we keep it fresh, we keep it funny. We do what we can the whole time, and you know, we definitely want to try to make some sense of the point that we have tonight. I think it's a great one. But before we do that, we introduced the new segment the last time we was together called This or That.
This
all right?
or that.
So I got a new one for us tonight.
Okay, what is it?
All right, so the this or that tonight is, would you rather somebody talk about you to your face or talk about you behind your back?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well,
that will sizzle in your spirit.
About in front of my face. Okay. Or talked about behind my back.
Because, you know, it can go either way, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, you know, we got the whole, okay, yeah, I get a chance to actually hear it and confront it and address it, you know, or I got the, well, if it's out of sight, out of mind, I don't know about it anyway, so it ain't impacting me. So
I'm not an out of sight, out of mind person, so for me personally, I'd rather you do it in my face.
Okay.
A couple reasons. One, because I like to rib. So if you're
you
going to talk
do.
about me, we can do that, you know what I'm saying? And plus, you know, I'm not afraid to confront or be combative at times.
Right. No, so you ain't.
I'd rather you talk about me in front of my face. We can get it off. You know what I'm saying? And then we can move on.
Because like the shirt say, man, people need to focus on this.
Listen.
You say what the shirt say.
Try Jesus, not me, because I got hands.
Come on here.
A lot of people know what that's from. These shirts will be available for $10 if you would like to purchase them.
Shout out to Toby.
Sow into the seed of what we're doing here. These shirts are available. We also have another plethora of shirts that we're going to be releasing as well.
Oh, yeah, merch store.
Sorry for that shameless plug, but
merch store anyway. Coming on day, man. We got bills. You know, we're trying to build something. You know,
talk about me in my face. Let's get it off. You know, that's how I am anyway. If I got to alt with anybody, I'm going to talk to them anyway. I don't want to have a lingering thing. It's no benefit to talk about something behind their back. Just go to them. And a lot of times, what you may perceive to be a problem may not be a problem. But a lot of times, a problem is created when you fail to address something. And then it gets bigger and it just builds. So that's my choice.
I think I'm gonna agree with you tonight. I know last time we was on, you know, opposite sides of it, but you know, I agree with you, man. I would much rather somebody tell me what's going on to my face, you know, and tell me what the issue is, the problem. Because what I found out is that sometimes the issue that people have or that they bring to you really ain't even about you. It's about something they heard or they just interpreted on their own.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And it ain't even really a real big issue. And it can be squashed if it's brought to you.
Right, exactly.
You know, if you're giving it steam and you're giving it momentum from talking about something behind their back, you ain't set the record straight. You ain't going to the source. You know what I'm saying? Right. So you got this whole narration about this person's life. They don't have no idea that you basically tearing them apart, you know what I'm saying, verbally. And it can be off some stuff that ain't even got nothing to do with them, with anything they've done. It could be somebody else that basically sowed the seed of discord, or somebody else that said something. Yeah. Or it can just be because you feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
You know, at the base of sometimes who we are petty people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like some people just conspire a whole theory about how you are without ever getting to know you.
Exactly.
Without even knowing what you about, without even knowing what you stand for.
Exactly.
And so with that, it's like, I would rather you come to me. Whoa, I don't know what that was. I would rather you come to me and, you know, we chop it up like men. We chop it up, you know, and we have a conversation about what's really going on. Right. You know, I'm definitely a very chill dude, but I'm definitely not one that's just going to let everything slide.
Right.
You know, but a lot of times with that, we get an opportunity to grow as people. You know, when we deprive ourselves of that sometimes because, you know, we assume that the worst possible scenario is what's actually happening. And we never get a chance to actually chop it up and come to a resolution.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And with that said, man, that's actually a great segue for the topic for tonight.
Yes.
Now, anybody that know me and know you know we love some movies.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? We love some movies.
Oh, yeah.
All right?
Movie buffs.
And, you know, just watching one of my all-time favorites, The 5 Heartbeats, the other week. one of the lines that will live in infamy is, "You trying to take my spot, Flash?
Yep.
Well, you ain't gonna get it because you ain't got it."
Yes.
One of the greatest improv lines actually wasn't even in the film, wasn't even in the movie.
One in the script.
All right. But that right there is what I want to talk about. You trying to take my spot.
Yes.
And it seems befitting to jump into that subject because we just were talking about how a lot of times people will paint a narrative that a lot of times ain't even true. It ain't even real, but in their mind, they feel you're trying to take something that they have, or they feel you're trying to occupy a space that they want to occupy, or they feel like you're getting benefits that they laid the groundwork for, right? And I think that this is an important conversation to have this day and age because, you know, if we don't keep our head on a swivel and we don't keep our mentality focused on, okay, even if things don't seem fair, because we sometimes think everything is supposed to be fair, and the reality of it is not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The reality of it is that most things that we'll encounter are going to be a fight in order to get them. There's not really many things that are just going to happen. If you take that challenge in and of itself already and then try to attack everybody that may not want to see you well off, man, you're going to be fighting from here into the grave.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So what I've started to realize is that a lot of times people, they don't know how to communicate their own shortcomings. And so the way it comes out is in hatred or jealousy or envy. And we see that over and over again, like with the racism that we encounter, because people want what you have or they covet what you have and they want to be where you are. And a lot of times, man, I think Bishop Darrell Hines said this a long time ago, and he was telling the testimony about when he got struck by lightning. You know, and people look at where he is now and the successes that he's had, but are you willing to go through that moment to get to where he is now? You know, are you willing to be struck by lightning, you know, die temporarily? You know, are you willing to go through that moment to get to where it is? And, you know, so when Eddie Kane said that, you know, I looked at it from both sides. You know, Flash, who probably was like, "What are you talking about, bro? I got my own stuff going on out here." And Eddie, who was like, "Well, it seems very coincidental that I laid the groundwork for this group to be what it is by saving them that one fateful night of sliding in from running, you know, and hit the notes that I hit and gave the show that I gave. And because of that, we together." You know, so it's an interesting conundrum on both sides of it. But I think that if we take a moment to dissect it, we can really understand that at the end of the day, man, it's about you. And it's about what you're willing to put in for the successes you have and also how you protect the kingdom that you're in charge of.
Now, see, when I hear the topic, I look at things a little bit different as far as spots. I think a lot of times people, they occupy a spot too long. Sometimes people need to move on from where they are and allow other people to come in. You know what I'm saying? Who we need to pass the torch more. You know, I think a lot of times people, they stay in they spots too long, and they're not valuable anymore. You know what I'm saying? They lose their value. They lose what once was nice and once was, you know, whatever it is. They lose that value by staying there too long instead of moving on. Because they're afraid to allow other people to come in. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, they have a fear of somebody taking something that they feel is theirs, either because they feel like they worked for it. So I work for this, nobody's taking this from me. But sometimes you're only supposed to occupy that spot only for so long before you move on to the next thing. I had to learn that. You know what I'm saying? You get to a place when you get something and you accomplish it, you achieve it, you're always thinking about, okay, who's coming to get me? You know what I'm saying? Who's coming to try to knock me off of here? I don't want nobody to take this because this is mine. You know, I worked hard to get it, not understanding that God has another spot for you that's a little higher, that's a little bit more elevated, but you're too busy holding on to level one that you can't get to the next level.
You can't level up.
Because you're worrying about, you know what I'm saying, who's coming behind you.
Absolutely.
Being a musician, I've seen that a lot, and I'm sure it's still going on now. When I first started learning, you go to people and you ask them, well, can you help me? Can you teach me some things? And everybody come with that, man, you got it, Doc. Doc, I don't even know how to play. You know what I'm saying? Because they're so fearful that if they give you something of what they got, you're going to take it and flip it and maybe better than them, and then they're going to lose out and lose their spot, and now you have it. So it just get crazy, man. I feel like what's for you is for you. But also, what's for you ain't always for you at that time.
It ain't forever.
It ain't forever.
It ain't forever.
What's for you is not sometimes forever. Sometimes it's for you for that moment, to you to move on and help the next person occupy that spot. And we just got to do better at that, man.
Absolutely. And, man, you hit it on the head with that, man. That's a great point, man, because I agree 150,000%, man. Like, I think sometimes we tend to hold on to stuff past the time or the moment, that we should be. Yep. And what ends up happening, man, it becomes embarrassing, really.
It is.
It becomes embarrassing. And not only does it become embarrassing, but it becomes a detriment to other people as well. Mm-hmm. We don't always understand the importance of knowing when to hold on to something and when to let go of something. Right. And if we're not careful, we can absolutely cause more damage than good. And we do that, in everything, from relationships to, business strategies and plans to money to generosity, like different stuff. We tend to hold on to stuff a lot more or a lot longer than we should, not understanding that oftentimes, man, those are the things that unlock your gateway to the next level.
Right.
Letting go stuff, sharing stuff. And I had to learn that, man, even like in business, me and my brother, and my sister, we have, Mo's Barbecue.
Right.
And so with that, and a lot of people ask, like, where'd the Mo come from? Because people that I'm associated with, they're like, I don't ever see you on nothing or anything like that. And so for those that don't know, Mo is my brother's nickname, Maurice. So Mo is his nickname. He's the pit master. So with that said, the company's name is Mo's Barbecue.
Right.
But I've learned, man, a lot of times I used to be intimidated. We've had this conversation before, too, like even with the plays and the writing and stuff that you do. You can sometimes get so fixated on the size of the market and who you think you're reaching, because I had to learn that sometimes, man, you're reaching people and you have no idea, and that's the importance of being consistent in what you do.
Yep.
You would be concerned with saying, okay, we only have so many people, and if you have 20,000, barbecue joints or spots, how are we going to eat? How are we going to survive? How are we going to make it? But I understand, man, that what we offer is the value in what we offer. Right. And what we offer is special to this group, this crowd, this audience. And we forget sometimes that what we have is specially formulated for our success in the world. God has given everybody a measure of faith. He's given everybody a skill, an ability, a talent, and a purpose. And we act like we got to be overcrowded, not understanding that he's the orchestrator of it all. There's room for everybody to eat. You know what I'm saying? There's room for everybody to get on. I'm not having a fit when I see other people doing the same stuff. I commend that, because competition breeds the best stuff.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It makes people level, or it should. It shouldn't cause something in you that says, I hate you and you're my rival. It should cause something that says, okay, I see you, Playboy, now let me level up. And we have this going and building each other up. Right. The Bible says iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
And you can't get sharp just being off to yourself. Eventually you're gonna get dull. If you're not rubbing up against something else that's able to add competition and add a flare and add a spark and add fire, you're gonna end up dying out and burning out. And so, man, I think it's absolutely vital of knowing when to tell I won't say your twilight years are upon you, but knowing when to change your focus from this to this. All right, I've spent time putting this and cultivating this and growing this, but now it's time for me to put my attentions, my efforts, my focus is here, and not be scared to allow that to still do what it's meant to do. And I think that scares a lot of people, so much so that what they've only ever known is all they ever want to do.
Right.
And you can't be scared to let something grow on its own. My upbringing, has taught me to understand that a lot of the things I didn't get from what my parents were doing as I was growing up were actually for me to benefit as I got grown, right? And I say that as this analogy. A lot of times if you have that overbearing parent or that one that can't let go, and don't have confidence in the skills that they laid out for their child, you can end up repelling that child and causing them to rebel, right? And that relationship is not just in a parent-child relationship. That's with anything. If you got somebody that's overbearing or just doing the most or doing too much, man, it's annoying.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And what you can end up doing, because your need to try to be constantly at the center of everything that's going on, can cause you to lose and miss out on what it is that actually should be something beautiful.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I would say that to anybody, like, know when it's time to be able to say, okay, hey, I've laid the groundwork, I've planted the seeds, I got to trust God to give the increase.
Exactly.
I've done my part. Life is going to water them. Life is going to give them some experience. Even with businesses, it's like we sometimes rush to get success right away. And don't get me wrong, that would be phenomenal.
Right.
You know, that would be sensational if everybody that had a business idea immediately started turning a profit. But for entrepreneurs, man, we got to be consistent in what we do. Right. You know, you may not turn the money around for the first month, second month, third month, maybe close to even the first year.
Yeah.
But, you know, you got to be willing to go in with the plan that says, okay, am I looking for this to be something that's built for longevity, or am I looking to just get rich quick? Right. You know, and there's a whole different path for each of those things. You know what I'm saying? And that's sometimes we don't take the due diligence that it takes to be able to assess a situation from each different side and each different angle. And it causes all these other emotions and feelings to rise up that could basically talk us out of the things that we could actually succeed in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You can't be fearful of anybody that's coming at you, because like you said, competition is good. You know what I'm saying? Because it makes you stronger. It makes you step on your game. And then it also gives people variety. Nobody wants the same thing all the time. So, you know, you're in a market where, you know what I'm saying, there's other people that are doing what you guys do, but you're not fearful of those other people because you occupy your lane, you own your spot. Absolutely. And it is what it is. These other people, you welcome them, you encourage them, and you support them as well.
Absolutely.
Because that's going to help you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's going to show that, hey, man, we doing the same thing, but at the same time, I'm going to support your efforts, and hopefully in return you will support mine. And, you know, people just got this fear of just letting things go or not wanting the competition. A lot of times they don't want the competition because they want to be the only one because they know they ain't that good. So
and that's the thing I don't find out
really
too.
what it is.
Man, people have some delusions of grandeur, like in a heartbeat. Like, you know, that's the equivalent of somebody that spent their whole life singing in the shower trying to record an R&B album next week.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, don't believe your own hype, you know, sometimes. And, you know, that's the importance that, and a lot of times people want to do it on their own, but sometimes, man, you need a team. You know what I'm saying? And we don't understand the importance of having people around you, and not just a group of yes people.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But an
real
actual team, man. People that bring stuff to the table, people that have some value to add to the group, not just hangers on. You know, we underestimate the power of a good team, man. Yeah. Like a good team. Like Jesus had his 12. You know what I'm saying? Like he had his crew. Everybody had a spot to play, a role to play, a duty to play. I talked about The Last Dance before, man. Jordan, as great as he is, needed a team to rally behind him, man. He needed a group of people that was able to say, okay, hey, my skill ain't your skill. I ain't never going to be what you are, but what I bring to the table is going to help you win these ships, these championships. You know what I'm saying?
Man, you hit it. And, you know, I got to talk about that. I think a lot of times, and speaking from my own personal experience, excuse me, a lot of times you want to do everything yourself because you're afraid to allow other people into your circle. Because at that time when I was doing what I was doing, I was afraid that somebody was going to try to take over. You know what I'm saying? And that was before I found my voice and understand that, okay, I may be the leader of this ship, but at the same time, I got to understand that there may be some people that can do things better than I can. And instead of me breaking myself, trying to occupy something and do something I know I'm not strong at, why don't I get somebody on my team who's strong in this area, who can benefit me, I can benefit them, and then we help each other. But at the same time, have the understanding that I'm still the captain of this ship. You know what I'm saying? Because every once in a while, you got to remind people of that. Because sometimes you get people on your team, they're a little too assertive. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, hey,
pump your brakes, slow your roll.
You know what I'm saying? This is your role. You know what I'm saying? This isn't your role. Now, if you aspire to get here, we can work together and I can help you. But as of right now, this is what you're needed. You know what I'm saying? And people got to be cool with that. But
that's
team,
important.
Man, you got to have people that's around you that are better than you or is just as good as you. Don't have a bunch of people around you that just ain't on your level, because that's not going to help you overall.
Absolutely. And I think that, you know, communication is the vital part of that, man. You know, but the hard thing is people actually being honest. You know, people, I think that if people would really communicate what it is that their motivation is up front and know what their motivation is entering into it, because everybody got different ambitions when it comes down to why they do what they do. And if you're getting in just with the whole plan of just trying to take this spot or take this moment, well, your motivation is going to be different, because at the end of the day, you're really not trying to build something. You're just trying to get your foot in so that when you take over, you got a hot lead or a warm lead. And I think that that's the communication that a lot of people don't find out from Jump Street, and they get into sour relationships, business relationships, you know, all different stuff, because that communication part in the beginning don't happen to say, okay, what's your agenda?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it that you're actually trying to accomplish and achieve? And that's the importance of writing out plans, writing out, a mission statement, vision statement. Let's see if what we thinking this is going to be is similar. Right. You know what I'm saying? Let's try to put out an agenda of actually what's going on and what's happening. And, you see it all the time wherein that didn't happen in the beginning, and people always use the famous, well, we're not there yet. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times that's the issue. It's like if you believe in this, you got to be able to see down the road or down the line.
Exactly.
You got to be able to say, okay, hey, yeah, I may not be here right now, but this is my projection in 6 months, in a year. And people don't want to do that work, and they just want to wing it, and just let the chips fall where they may. But you can't do that, And if you're going to have something successful, you got to constantly be evolving, constantly growing, constantly adapting. Right. Constantly developing. Businesses thrive in two things. They either are going to pay for something that you don't know how to do or something that you don't want to do. That's what makes a business successful. It's up to the entrepreneur or the person that's starting off to find out how I can carve my niche in this. Right. You know what I'm saying? And make sure that in doing this, I constantly change with the time. Prime example, we got telecommunications background, right? I don't even hear the name BlackBerry anymore.
Nope.
I don't remember the last time I heard, but when we were coming up, Blackberries was popping.
That was it.
Listen,
popping.
BBM to me was the first social media.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was before DMs. That was before, you can just literally, don't find out that you can see who's actually read your message. You know what I'm saying? Like, BlackBerry Messenger was the lick.
Yeah.
Like, man, without a doubt, they took over. When they started just continually just evolving their product. And for a while, man, nobody could touch them. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, businesses were doing it. Personal was doing it. Like, everything about BlackBerry was just there, and they just had the recognition that people just heard the name and they immediately will flock to it. Right. Because that's what building a brand, right? Like, when you build a brand, like, people just off the strength of the name pulls weight. So BlackBerry, prime example, they could do no wrong. But all it took was like one miscalculation, when trying to run before you walk. And it seems like I don't remember the exact time of their failure. I want to say it was when they released the touchscreen.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
When they released their touchscreen version and the screen wasn't flush, like when you press it, the screen, the whole screen clicked and moved. Oh, we knew we was going to have some problems.
You know what it was, though? They were trying to compete with iPhone.
Exactly.
Listen, when iPhone came out, it shook the market.
Shook the industry, man.
Because everybody then immediately had to try to emulate it because when they first came out, they was exclusive only to AT&T. So that was a problem for everybody else. So if you had the best coverage, at the time, Verizon had the best coverage. I don't even know who has the best coverage now.
Yep.
But
and unless they pay, I ain't gonna say who got it.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it real.
Facts.
They had the best coverage, so that didn't even matter. You would go to a place that didn't have better coverage because they had the better phone.
Oh yeah, network was trash, but you had the newest phone.
Right.
Though.
So all these other companies said, okay, this iPhone is killing us. What can we create that will be similar to it? Not quite the iPhone. So everybody started going to this touch thing, and the BlackBerry was hitting. So naturally, whoever was coming up with it was like, hey, let's put the touch screen on that. The iPhone is touch, and the BlackBerry, let's make that touch. And it was a great idea. Everybody bought this phone. I mean, everybody and mama got that phone.
Yep, pre-orders.
Everybody and mama brought that phone back because it didn't work.
I mean,
everybody
arguments
and mama
at the store.
argued with you about that phone. Everybody and their mama threw phones at you and threw them on the floor because you couldn't get them replaced and threatened to fight you. And man, working at the cell phone company is the only place I've seen people really legit want to fight you over a phone.
They pulled up like, what's up?
Yes. I've seen too many situations where customers wanting to fight employees over a phone.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And some of them did fight.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
dude, this is a phone.
It be going down in the phone store. Like, you want to get somebody, in their feelings.
Man.
Like, tell them they can't swap their phone out. Or, man, especially the ones that know they was filed. Like, back in the day, you had the sticker that told you when the phone got wet.
Yeah.
And people will argue you up and down. Like, nah, man, they never got wet, man. All right, my phone had never been dropped in the water. I was like, I didn't say dropped in water. I said, did your phone get wet? But it's semantics at that point. They like, well, I ain't never dropped my phone in water. I was like, I didn't say you dropped your phone in water, but this phone got wet. Like, no, it didn't. How you know that? Then you pull the battery off. They're like, oh, man, that was like that when I got it. Like, no, it wasn't, man.
I remember.
Like, people used to be hilarious with the phone stories.
I remember a guy came in. And we're trained because we were technicians.
Yeah.
First thing we're going to look at is we're going to take that battery out and check and see if it got wet.
Yep.
We're going to look at that battery indicator. And at the time, the batteries on the flip phones were exposed. Well, I shouldn't say exposed, but, this particular phone, I can't even remember the model. They had the like silver or the copper tabs at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Because you can dock it somewhere and plug it up. Yep. Anyway,
LG 6000.
This phone had that, so the bottom part of the battery could be exposed to any kind of liquid oxidation or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I looked at it. I looked at it and I was like, sir, this phone got wet. And he couldn't understand how, because once again, I ain't never got it wet. But he had a problem with his hands sweating. He was a sweater. And I literally watched him take his phone, put it in his hand, and beads of sweat ran down the back of the phone. And I said, sir, that's what happened. I said, your hands got this battery wet, because I said, look, the sweat is, you got two sweat beads racing each other, getting down to your battery. They was in a race.
Not racing each other.
And I let him watch this. I'm saying, you see this? This is what's causing that problem. And he couldn't say anything. So I'm like, man, it ain't just getting the phone in some water, but yeah, I remember.
That is funny.
Yeah.
I never
forget that, man. I literally watched this man have a sweat race.
Yeah, the sweat breakdown. Yes.
And they got that phone wet. And I said, that's what it is.
Dude, that is hilarious. And messed up, because it's like, I mean, he can't help his biology.
Right.
Yeah, his body temperature.
This was an opportunity for me to sell him a protective case. And those when we had the 2-piece leather cases, sir. Yeah. You see your sweat, it's all on the outside of the case. It ain't getting to the battery.
Mm-hmm. That's what made the successful rep.
Yeah.
Like, you see that moment and you turn it into a sales opportunity.
Turn it into a sales.
Man, we saw so much stuff with phones, and people would not believe, like, unless you worked in the industry, just how far phones have come. When it comes down to just all of the different developments, man. Like, I remember, and I know you remember this one, man, the Motorola Peanut.
Yes,
bro,
I do.
That thing was like the worst phone ever when it came down to problems. Bro, that port, remember the charging port?
Yeah.
It's like it had these two little pins that had to lock in perfectly, and the plastic grommets had to go in, and if it didn't, you would lose connectivity and it wouldn't charge anymore.
Listen, I became the master at holding a phone with my thumb in the charger. I'm like, I can get you a little juice so we can try to get these phone numbers out of here.
Contacts.
Because that port was trash.
Dude, big trash.
And once that went out, it was done. Man, it was a wrap on
That's
that.
another version of it, though. It's like, like the ideas, like Motorola is another company, not trying to throw names out there, but they're just now trying to reemerge again, with the new Razor.
They're not going to do it.
No, not at all.
Everything is iPhone, and I assume, because I'm an iPhone user, but I assume it's Samsung. Is that
I would say they're probably the biggest competitor to iPhone.
Yeah,
Samsung.
That's what everybody, but most people got iPhones, man. Most people I know, they got the iPhone. If they don't got the iPhone, they got a Samsung.
Right,
Android.
Yeah, it's between
those.
So
it's like
two.
those just the only two phones.
So
Motorola, I don't see Motorola coming with anything that's gonna make people want to leave what they have.
No,
because you either got a Note or you got an iPhone.
Right, and then it's also just the concept of what you have. It's like, okay, you're not doing me a service by explaining how this foldable screen is going to not be problematic.
It ain't no benefit.
Yeah, it's like what's the purpose of it?
It ain't one.
They're trying to sell the novelty of a name that doesn't have the reputation anymore.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying?
Say that again.
They're trying to sell the name of a reputation that's not valid anymore.
Nope.
I didn't say that the same way, but yeah, you get what I'm saying.
No.
That's exactly what it is. It's just like prime example, like if you heard that Michael Jordan was coming back and playing on the Bulls. Mm-hmm. You ain't gonna care.
I won't care.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna care at all.
Yeah. I ain't even talking about your fandom with LeBron.
No, it's not even that. I'm just not.
You're not, but that would be like the owners, like basically saying, okay, your name is gonna bring this. When at the point you're thinking, like, man, this man is 50 plus years old. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's the same mentality.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's like Motorola is jumping in on this. Yeah. It's like Motorola jumping in on this trend, like, oh, well, the Razor changed the generation. And it was like, but we was in there. The Razor had some issues, too.
Yeah,
saying the Razor had a lot of problems, but it's like people are trying to sell things off the strength of a name and a brand that ain't on that level no more. And that's what I was saying. You got to constantly be willing to change, evolve, adapt, and go with the trends. Like, I hate to say it like this, but Samsung bit like a lot of iPhone stuff early on, like it was lawsuits. It was the whole thing. Like they was taking the design.
They was trying to come for their spot.
Bruh, listen, they was trying to come for their spot. And I can hear iPhone saying, you want my spot, Samsung?
You ain't gonna get it.
Ain't gonna get it.
But you ain't got it.
I ain't gonna say they ain't got it now, though, because Samsung is snapping.
They there.
Yeah, they
but
there.
They
neck
took
and neck.
the spot.
But that's cool, too, though, because it's like, I believe Samsung knew they was stealing it. but the price that they would pay in court didn't balance out to the price they would make or the things they would make by how much they would sell. So it's like, yeah, man, we'll pay this lawsuit that got us basically stealing your image for your phone, but we gonna flip that and we gonna make all this difference. And the one thing that I will say, not to pit it into an Android iPhone war or nothing like that, because you know people will go back and forth nonstop. But what I will say that I appreciate about the Android platform is that, well, each of the phones, not necessarily the Android platform, but like even with Samsung's, there to me are notable differences that happen with them. You know, wherein iPhones, man, they'll change the position of the camera and say, hey, you got to get this phone. Right. You know, and so that'd be the only thing where I'd be like, all right, man, you know, iPhone, I don't doubt or knock their reputation with the quality and the, you know, the quality of the product, but they be getting over on people though, man, with features and stuff like that. They don't change like nothing.
No,
and they'll re-release.
Add another camera or add 3 cameras, I think, on the 12.
They are the McRib of phones. They the McRib of the phone industry. Yeah, that's like McDonald's just be throwing the McRib out. It ain't no different, but yet you look forward to it dropping every time. You know, even though you can go get you one of them Encore barbecue rib dinners, you can go get you the bread. You had the same thing at the crib. I mean, for $7, you can have 6 McRib sandwiches, but it's McDonald's and it's the McRib. So you go ahead and try to get it, but you can get the bread. You can get all this from Aldi's too. You can get the rib dinner thing. They got like 6 of them in there. You can get the deli roll thing, whatever they got. You get the pickles and the onions, and you got yourself 6 McRib
homemade McRib.
But you don't want to do it though, because it's the McRib. You know what I'm saying? And so that's to me what iPhone do. iPhone just be like, yo, I know we got the same exact thing, but it's a new one. Right. You put another number behind it, and you're gonna buy it. And that's what people are doing now. They do the exact same thing, but you know, that just, it coincides again just with the ability to be able to look past the moment. You know, Apple, I think that they thought enough to say, okay, we're going to work not necessarily on features per se, we're going to work on the productivity market. Because productivity-wise, Apple is killing. You know, when it comes down to like creative arts and photography stuff, and you know, and I'm sure there's always an equivalent on another one, but Apple makes their stuff compatible with the world and the rate of business. Right. And I think that's what keeps them afloat.
But like you said, you have to be willing to evolve, and I think that's where a lot of those other companies failed. They didn't evolve with the times. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, of course, added a camera when camera phones came out and became popular. You know, and some people tried to, you know, keep up with the touch screen. And some people's like, I'm not doing the touch screen. I'm sticking with the candy bar style, or I'm sticking with the flip phone. And then you look back and they were still sticking with that, and we done moved on, and then they started the business, you know.
I am convinced that if it had not been for the fact that some of the networks failed in the phones after some time, like the phones just stopped working on the network at some point, I believe that if that hadn't happened, there would still be some people right now that would still have a StarTAC. That would still have a time port. You know, like those phones, those battle-tested,
just built to last.
They just worked and worked and worked. Some people would still have those exact same phones. And I think that that sometimes can be the responsibility of taking a few minutes to help people feel comfortable with the changes that are happening. And I think that that kind of ties in what we're talking about too. Sometimes people don't take the time because you don't understand it the way I understand it, and you don't feel about my product the way I feel about it. It's my duty to help you and connect that gap or close that divide. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we don't want to do that because we're so excited about what it is that we're doing that we just expect everybody to love it right away. But it's some work that's required with that. You know, just because you're passionate about something, part of your responsibility is to help me find the passion in what you're passionate about.
Hey, I love that you said that, and this is why I'm the best person to talk to when it comes to this debate between iPhone and Android. Because I was team Android forever.
You was.
I absolutely hated iPhones. But like you said, I didn't have anybody that sat down with me and told me why this phone is so great, or why I would love this phone, how this connects with what I'm, you know, doing on a day-to-day basis. And it took them showing me with the newer models, because the old models to me were trash. You know what I'm saying? I had the iPhone 4.
Oh,
that was trash.
They wasn't in their groove yet.
I wasn't ready for iPhone then. I switched to it for 30 days, and I said, no, I'm going back to Android. But when they start coming out with the other models that pretty much were very similar to an Android, because at that point, you know, the S6 I think I had, or S7, it was so close to what was out at that time. It was like, okay, this actually isn't much different than what I have, and it's better. and then I went to
way
iPhone
cheaper.
and I didn't look back. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I done seen it from both sides of the fence, but it took them taking the time to show me how it connects with what I'm doing for me to say, okay, now I love this, instead of you telling me I should just love it because everybody else loved it.
Right. And I think that's the important part, okay? Like for people and passionate people, it's hard to sometimes get them to pump the brakes long enough to say, okay, I do still have to have a plan. I've got to connect the dots from A to B in order to get you to come on this journey with me, right? You know, it's like, if you're this excited about it, you know, that can't just be the only thing you expect to sell your product, you know, or sell your service, whatever it is. You know, I need to see, and I think that people get discouraged right away just because, you know, we are very defensive when it comes down to being approached with a lot of different stuff. You know, I'm self-included. You know, it's like a lot of times, you know, you done been burnt with telemarketers and people constantly calling, and like this vote done took me out. Like, man, listen, I'm sure there are some people out there that just said, just to spite the election, I ain't even gonna vote because y'all done got on my nerves. Right. I don't know how the numbers got out there, but listen, there were so many prospectors out there trying to just constantly lobby. You know? Like, dude, it was so annoying. Like, I wanted to turn my phone off. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Just because it was just so much happening. I mean, granted, you know, you can hit stop and, you know, leave me alone, whatever else have you. But then you got another 10 of them that's waiting because that's the age we live in now. You know, and they can just hit you up anyway. But it's like when you're passionate about something, you have to take the time to be able to say, okay, my business side has to still match my passion. Right. You know, like if I'm going to turn this into something that is actually going to have longevity, if I'm going to turn this into something, I need to also be willing to show you more than just tell you how this is going to benefit or be an impact to your life. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the part that we sometimes get a little mixed up on or messed up on. You know, we want the appearance of what it is to sell the product itself or the service itself. I was like, man, you know, we can't cut corners to quality, man. You got to put the work in, you got to put the grind in, and you got to make sure that you're willing to take those lumps, because there's going to be some L's along the way. Too. You know, and we've talked about this before, man. Everything that happens in life, whether good or bad, is an experience. It goes into your tool belt. It teaches you what to use at a certain time. Right. And in order for something to really be able to be long-term effective, you got to have some losses. You know, you got to have some L's. You got to have some things that test the reliability and the strength of what it is that you're trying to push. Right. You know, and that's what I would encourage anybody that's, you know, pursuing any kind of level of anything, you know, to be able to also stand and take the lumps that come as well. You know, take the criticisms, take the feedback, be able to chew the meat, spit out the bones, be able to say, okay, hey, you know, I may not be where I thought I would be at this time, but let me reconvene my strategy. Let me restructure my thought process. Because, man, we don't like to be proven wrong. Right. You know, as people just overall and collectively, we don't like to be proven wrong. We don't like to be wrong about anything. But sometimes it's not being wrong as much as it is opening up the perspective to another way. Right. You know, and if we can be humble enough to say, okay, hey, it's not about who's right or wrong. It's about what's the best possible way to make this successful. What's the best possible way to make this be the brand or the product, or even me be the person that I aspire to be. You know what I'm saying? And I think that if we can take a minute to just let our mind be humble enough, you know, to take that lesson, man, we can get a lot further, you know, in life and things overall, man. And I think that, you know, for me, it's always the how when it comes down to doing it. It's like, you know, you can hear over and over again what you should be doing, but sometimes it's how do you begin the journey? You know what I mean? Because we getting older. You know, when you get older, you start to feel like the floor and the ground under you is shrinking. You start feeling like, you know, time ain't on your side. You start having all of these things that constantly pull from you, and it seems like nothing that builds you up or pushes you forward. So, I mean, what do you do in those instances, man? I'd be interested to know, like, when you feel like the ground is shrinking and you feel like, you know, you have to get things done by a certain time and you don't feel like there's any way to do it, what do you find works to help you reposition your thought process? What do you find works to help you reset the negative and flush that out and find a new energy or a new positivity?
I think for me personally, you know, I look at my peers or my counterparts. Sometimes you got to look at people that surround you and see, okay, well, what are they doing? Okay, when did they start this? You know, case in point, like, I want to one day become successful in the entertainment industry for writing and producing film and television, whatever, somewhere in that vein. I want to do that. And I'm older than I was when I first had this dream, and I feel like, man, I let all these years go by and I hadn't started it or pursued it because I didn't quite know how. But then you look at people that are successful in it, and they didn't start until later in life as well. So for me, I look at that and say, okay, well, this person is very successful, and they actually didn't start doing this until they were in their late 30s. So that's encouraging. But I think the main thing is you just got to start. You just got to do something, put it out there, and see what it does. And then you learn as you go. I think the biggest thing is, you talked about this earlier, people want the instant success. If you go into the situation understanding that you may not get it instantly, but it may be a build-up, then your expectation is more realistic, so that way that when you face the failure or you face something that isn't quote-unquote what you thought it would be, it doesn't deter you from it and make you say, okay, I ain't going to do this because it ain't working. No, you're going to push past that moment because you're like, okay, well, I didn't expect to get instant success. So, okay, this is a roadblock, but let me get past this. Let me figure out how I can get better. You know, so for me, when I feel like it's closing in on me and I feel like, you know, time is getting away from me, I just have to be reminded that, man, as long as you start something and you're good with it, it ain't no time limit on this stuff, man. You know, there ain't no certain age for what it is you're trying to do. Just start.
That's it. I think that's, for me, what I'm starting to realize now. We have like this plan of how long something is going to take without actually understanding what it actually takes. And I'm starting to realize now, man, that we equate everything to trying to get things by a certain age, when the reality is you don't always have the maturity to handle what it is that you want at the ages that you want it. You know, when you have like thoughts that are just wild, man, and they're not disciplined enough to actually have the maturity and the experience behind them, a lot of times, man, it's best that you don't get it right away. Because if you get it right away, man, you will end up blowing it, and you won't have anything to actually build on. You know, and so I'm learning now a lot of the things that I thought I wanted when I was younger, I wasn't ready for. You know, and I had to have the experience of life, like even when I was talking about with the parenting thing, like, you know, for me, I've learned, like even with my children, I found a balance now, because the plan you have and what you think you're going to do as a parent, let me tell you now, a kid will change everything about that perspective of what you thought you were going to do when you actually have children. You know, it's like you can have this plan of, oh, my child's not going to do this, or my child is going to do that, and this, that, and other. And that plan completely changes when you actually are faced with having the child and grooming them in a certain kind of way. But there's a point that I'm learning now where I have to trust the things that I have instilled in them and allow life's experiences to be able to help navigate. That's not to say I'm taking my hand off, you know, at all. That'll never happen. But it's to say that I'm comfortable enough to say I feel like the things that have been instilled in them now have to be developed with the experiences of life so that they can have a chance to be able to put it into action, to put it into practice. And I think that's us. I think that we have to be okay with the fact that things that we have maybe tried before or things that we've put effort into, we have to allow the experience to be what grows and blossoms the productivity. Because it's like kind of like the whole mentality that we said before with an olive. You know, you got to press. You know, and a lot of times it's not until you have that moment where failure is imminent to an extent that you find out what you're actually capable of or what you're actually made of. You know, and that's what life has taught me, man, like even during this pandemic. And I go back to this a lot just because I've learned so much this year. You know, when you go into this year thinking that there's so much that you figure you got a strategy for, and there's so much, and now you're forced to be able to say, okay, now I got to completely restructure my thought process or my mentality behind this. But the ones that grab that, there's never been to me a greater time to be able to do it, because people are looking for so much. You know what I'm saying? And because people are now looking for so much, it's the creatives, it's the consistent people, it's the ones that actually say, okay, now is the time for me to strike and have an actual plan to be able to give you something to look for. So when your eyes are scanning the road, this is that flashing light that says, okay, I got something for you over here. You know, and I'm learning that now, man, there is such a vast opportunity no matter what age you are, no matter what time, for everybody to be able to get a seat at the table. Yep. And if you don't find the path that works for you, make your own path.
Yeah.
You know,
one thing that I've learned as well throughout this year is that you're, like you said, excuse me, you have to find the path. No. You got to find the path and create a path, and that's one thing I learned about myself. Yeah. Throughout this pandemic, I found something in me that I didn't know was in me, and I started to go into that. You know what I'm saying, with the DJing thing. You know, it's just one extra thing to add to the things that I've already started doing years before. So now I have a plan in place that, okay, after things calm down with this pandemic, plus some other personal things get together, I have several areas I'm finna move forward in. Right. So even at this later stage in life, I appreciate it because now I have a better understanding of when I start this, I don't have to stop it just because of adversity. Right. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to stop it just because I hit a roadblock. I know how to move past that. Yeah, so absolutely. I do have a plan coming out of this pandemic to be better than I was before the pandemic. Right. And I think a lot of people now have had that. You know, even what we're doing now. Yeah. These are things that we're doing to better ourselves that we probably wouldn't have been doing before. Right. You know what I'm saying? And you don't know what's going to pop. You can do 4 or 5 things and only take one of them to pop off, and then you out of here. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So I have a small plan in place to take all the things that I've been gathering this year, put it forward, but it has to be done the right way. Right. So personal things have to line up first, and then we off to the moon.
Facts. And I think that's, for me, what I'm starting to realize, too, more and more, is that every day you have the opportunity to continue on in doing something. It's just a matter of you evaluating if it's worth your time or not. But every day you have to make that decision. Every day you have to make your decision, okay, is this good for me or not? And each day you do that, it becomes more and more significant when you hold on to the things that actually matter. Yep. You know, every day you start noticing a little bit more, and that's how progress starts happening. Each day being able to say, okay, you know what, this is what I ended up encountering yesterday, and this is what I'm going to make sure I avoid today. And, you know, and then something else it inherently happens. I mean, generally something else still will happen, but you begin to develop a habit of being able to overcome obstacles because you're not defeated by the adversity that you face. You know, you get into the situation. I don't never enter a situation expecting that it'll be easy. Right. But I also never take for granted the ease that I find if I get into my groove. And I think that's important because you can sometimes take your foot off the gas, not understanding that there's going to be a moment when you go around the bend that you're going to have to put some pedal to the metal. You know, and I think that sometimes we get that lopsided because we get to this coasting stage or this coasting phase, and we assume that, okay, now we made it. Or we assume that, okay, now I'm comfortably where I want to be. Not understanding, man, that you can drop at any given time. If there's anything that this year has taught us, man, you can think that everything is all together up until a challenge that you never saw happens. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, man, I just want, you know, my people to be good. I want my family to be good, friends to be good. And part of that, them being good, is me being the best version of myself. Right. You know, and by doing that, not trying to be in competition with nobody. You know, you are absolutely uniquely you. Yep. You know, when people, it sounds real corny and cliche when people say that. You know, you hear the motivational speakers, you're all you need. You're great. You're wonderful, all this stuff. But positive affirmation and saying those things really do matter. Right. Because sometimes you're going to reach that point where you don't feel like you're enough. Right. You're going to reach those moments where you really feel like, man, everything is out to get me. You're going to have those moments where you feel like, man, there's nothing that I touch that goes right. You know, and you got to have on the flip side of that the ability to be able to say, you know what, I am something. You know, I add value. By me being here, this is going to be a better situation because of what I have to bring to the table. You know, and when you constantly let that be your push, it motivates you, okay, now that I'm saying that this is what I am, how do I show you this is what I am? Okay, I need to make sure that I got a person that's strong in this. Okay, I'm weak in marketing. I need somebody that's out here that's a marketing beast. Okay, I'm strong in marketing. I need somebody out here that don't mind, you know, knocking on some doors or making some calls or sending out some texts. You know, we need to find the strengths and weaknesses of different people. And again, that's just reiterating the point of a team. You know, you're not in competition with your team. Y'all are building something together. Right. And, you know, this year has taught me that, man. I reach out to multiple clergy, you know, because sometimes in church we got that bad. You know what I'm saying? We figure it's our church or nothing. You know what I'm saying? We scared to lose members. We scared to lose people. This, that, and other. Man, I'm like, listen, we all are trying to get through this pandemic together. Right. All right? We all have a moment that we need to share hope with one another. And so I don't have no problem opening the doors up to people coming in and speaking and stuff. I'm not concerned with losing people.
Right.
You know, I'm more so in encouraging people that, hey, you need to see uniformity at this point. You need to see solidarity. You need to see people coming together. And that, dare I say, is what we have to carry going forward into 2021 and in the years to come, man. As a culture, as a people, we have to carry around that everybody ain't trying to come get you and everybody ain't trying to take your spot.
Right.
What it actually is telling me is that people are looking for you in this spot. You know, and now it's time for you to rise up and fill that gap, man. So, you know, everybody that's out there, man, be unapologetically you. Be the person that you know that you are, and it's going to be rough. It's going to be some obstacles. It's going to be some issues. But, you know, you got to learn how to eat that for breakfast.
Yep.
You got to be the person that be able to still stand and say, you know what, yeah, this day sucked, but guess what? I still have time, I have breath, I have activities, I have function, and I'm going to make the best out of whatever scenario it is that I face.
Exactly. Couldn't say it no better. Every time you get hit, that don't mean you're supposed to quit. Take the hit, keep moving, fight back, and fight through it, most importantly.
Absolutely. So listen, we appreciate everybody again. You know what I'm saying? This is always a fun time to come together, man. We are working on some things. You know, there will be occasional breaks while we reform things for structural sake, for productivity. The next time you see us, we want to make sure that we start working on backdrops and different scenery and stuff, so it ain't just us sitting at a table. Right. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, ultimately we are working on building this platform. We need your help. You know, we need you to support it. We need you to share it. We need you to, you know, comment, like, subscribe. Help us out in building this platform, you know, seeing suggestions and ideas. We are working on implementing some things to be more interactive in real time. So we are sometimes limited by the capacity of our technology. But we're working on some things. We need y'all to be patient with us while we do it. It's hard to believe we already at episode 8.
I know, right?
We've been doing this for a minute, man. You know, and so with doing that, we're going to continually build, add new components and elements to the show, vary things out with guests, and just, you know, let it take off from here. Shout out to everybody that's been rocking with us from day one, episode 1, despite the technical glitches and differences and issues we were facing. We want everybody to, like I said, tune in every Wednesday at 6 p.m. We're going to work on also getting some merch so that we can show you what we got. You know, when
we got some things cooking up, man.
Yeah, so
you know.
Be mindful. Like I said, like, subscribe, follow, share, and we'll make sure that we do our part to keep you entertained and keep you in the groove and give you something motivational. Once again, I've been John.
And I'm Tony Cole.
We didn't even introduce ourselves at the beginning.
They know who he is.
They didn't know who he is by now. If not, then it's a problem. All right, so this is us signing off for a long week from Sunday. A long way from Sunday. I said a long week from Sunday. It's been a long day. A long way from Sunday. God bless you. We love you. Have a good night.
All right, good night.